Shalom. I'm going to be reading from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 23 to chapter 27. Bear with me as I try to get through this. I should have looked for my pen while I had the chance. Bear with me as I try to get through this, y'all willing. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 23, verse 1. Let me see if I can find. Oh, I got something to write with. One second. Here we go. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 23, verse 1. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, verse 2, Son of man, there were two women, daughters of one mother. Two women, daughters of one mother. Verse 3, and they whored in Mitzrayim. They whored in their youth. Their breasts were handled, and their maiden nipples were squeezed. And this is the book of Ecclesiastes. I'm sorry, the book of Ezekiel, by the way. There's some vivid details. Verse 4, and their names were Ohala, the elder, and Oholibah, her sister. And they were mine, and they bore sons and daughters. And their names, Shemuran is Ohala, and Jerusalem is Oholibah. Verse 5, and Ohala whored while she was mine, and she lusted for her lovers, and the neighboring Ashurshirine. Verse 6, dressed in purple, officers and rulers, all of them desirable young men, horsemen riding on horses. Verse 7, so she gave her horns on them, all of them choice sons of Ashur, and with all for whom she lusted, with all their idols she defiled herself. Verse 8, and she did not forsake her whoring from Mitzrayim, for in her youth they had lain with her, and they squeezed her mating nipples and poured out their whorings on her. Verse 9, therefore I have given her into the hands of her lovers, into the hand of the Ashurians whom she lusted. Verse 10, they uncovered her nakedness, they took away her sons and daughters, and unalived her with the sword. And she became a byword among women, and they executed judgments on her. Verse 11, and her sister Oholibah saw this, yet she became more corrupt in her lust than she, and in her whoring more corrupt than her sister's horns. Verse 12, she lusted for the sons of Ashur, officers and rulers, the ones near perfectly dressed horsemen riding on horses, all of them desirable young men. Verse 13, I saw that she was defiled. They both took the same way. Verse 14, but she increased her whoring, and she looked at men carved on the wall, images of Kasdim inscribed in red. Verse 15, girded with belts around their loins, flowing turbans on their heads, all of them looking like officers like the sons of Babel of Kasdim, the land of their birth. Verse 16, as soon as her eyes saw them, she lusted for them and sent messengers to them in Kasdima. Verse 17, and the sons of Babel came to her into the bed of carnal love, and defiled her with their horns, and she was defiled by them, and her being turned from them in disgust. Verse 18, and she uncovered her horns and uncovered her nakedness. Then I turned my being from her in disgust. Then I turned my being from her in disgust, as my being had turned from her sister in disgust. Verse 19, and she increased her whorings, remembering the days of her youth, when she whored in the land of Mizraim. Verse 20, and she lusted after her lovers, whose flesh is like the flesh of donkeys, and whose emissions is like the emissions of horses. Verse 21, thus you long for the wickedness of your youth, when the Mizraites squeezed your nipples because of the breast of your youth. Verse 22, therefore, O Helabah, thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am stirring up your lovers against you, from whom you are being turned in disgust, and shall bring them against you from every side. Verse 23, the children of Babel and all the Kasdim, Pekod and Shoah and Quawa, all the sons of Ashur with them. All of them desirable young men, governors and rulers, officers and men of name, all of them riding on horses. Verse 24, and they shall come against you with battle axe, chariot and vehicles, and with an assembly of peoples. They shall set against you armor and shield and helmet all around, and I shall commit the judgment to them, and they shall judge you according to their rulings. Verse 25, and I shall set my jealousy against you, and they shall deal heatedly with you. They shall cut off your nose and your ears, while the rest of you fall by the sword. Your sons and your daughters they shall take away, while the rest of you shall be consumed by fire. Verse 26, and they shall strip you of your garments, and shall take your pretty jewels. Verse 27, and I shall put an end of your wickedness, and I shall put an end to your wickedness and to your whoring from the land of Mizraim, so that you do not lift your eyes to them, neither remember Mizraim any more. Verse 28, for thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am giving you into the hand of those whom you hate, into the hand of those from whom your being turned in disgust. Verse 29, and they shall deal with you in hatred. And they shall take away all you have worked for, and they shall leave you naked and bare, and the nakedness of your whoring shall be uncovered, and the wickedness of your whoring. Verse 30, I do this to you because of your whoring after the nations, because you have been defiled by their idols. Verse 31, you have walked in the way of your sister, and I shall give her cup into your hand. Verse 32, thus said the Master Yahuwah, drink your sister's cup, the deep and wide one, you being laughed at and mocked at, for it holds much. Verse 33, be filled with drunkenness and sorrow, the cup of punishment and ruin, the cup of your sister's shomoran. Verse 34, and you shall drink it and shall drain it and gnaw its shards and tear at your own breast. For I have spoken, declares the Master Yahuwah. Verse 35, therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, because you have forgotten me and cast me behind your back, therefore you shall bear your wickedness and your whoring. Verse 36, and Yahuwah said to me, son of man, judge Ohala and Ohalabah, and declare to them their abominations. Verse 37, for they have committed adultery, and blood is on their hands, and they have committed adultery with their idols. And even offered their sons, whom they bore to me, passing them through the fire to devour. Verse 38, they also did to me, they have defiled my set apart place on the same day, and they have profaned my Sabbath. Verse 39, for when they had slain their children for their idols, on the same day they came into my set apart place to profane it. And see, that is what they did in the midst of the house, of my house. Verse 40, and they even sent for men to come from afar, to whom a messenger was sent. And see, they came for whom you washed yourself, painted your eyes. Interesting. And see, they came for whom you washed yourself, painted your eyes, and adorned yourself with ornaments. Verse 41, and you sat on the splendid couch with a table prepared before it, on which you had set my incense and my oil. Verse 42, and the sound of a crowd at ease was with her, and drunkards were brought from the wilderness with men of the commonest sort. And they put bracelets on your wrists. And they put bracelets on their wrists and pretty crowns on their heads. Verse 43, then I said concerning the one worn out in adulteries. Now let them commit her whorings, even hers. Verse 44. And they went into her as men go in to a woman who is a whore. Thus they went into Ohala and Ahalabah, the wicked women. Verse 45. But let righteous men judge them with the judgment of adulterers and the judgment of women who shed blood, for they are adulterers, and blood is on their hands. Verse 46. For thus said the Master Yahuwah, bring up an assembly against them, give them up to maltreatment and plunder. Verse 47. And the assembly shall stone them with stones and cut them with their swords. They shall unalive their sons and their daughters and burn their houses with fire. Verse 48. And I shall put an end to wickedness in the land, and all the women shall be instructed not to commit wickedness as you have done. Verse 49. And they shall put your wickedness on you, and you shall bear the sins of your idols, and you shall know that I am the Master Yahuwah. Chapter 24, verse 1. And in the 9th year, in the 10th new moon, on the 10th of the new moon, the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, verse 2, Son of man, write down the name of the day, for on this same day the sovereign of Babel has thrown himself against Jerusalem. Verse 3, interesting, to the rebellious house. And you shall say to them, thus said the Master Yahuwah, put on a pot, put it on, and also pour water into it. Verse 4, gather pieces of meat in it, every good piece, the thigh and the shoulder, fill it with choice bones. Verse 5, take the choice of the flock, also pile bones under it, cook it thoroughly, also let the bones cook in it. Verse 6, therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, woe to the city of blood, to the pot in which there is rust, and whose rust has not gone out of it. Bring it out piece by piece, on which no lot has fallen. Verse 7, for her blood is in her midst, she has set it on shining rock. She did not pour it on the ground to cover it with dust. Verse 8, to stir up wrath and take vengeance, I have set her blood on the shining rock so that it would not be covered. Verse 9, therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, woe to the city of blood, let me also make the pile great. Verse 10, heap on the wood, kindle the fire, cook the meat well, mixing the spices, and let the bones be burnt up. Verse 11, and set it on the coals empty so that it gets hot, and its bronze glows, and its filthiness shall be melted in it, and its rust be consumed. Verse 12, she has wearied herself with sorrows, and her great rust has not gone from her into the fire with her rust. Verse 13, and your filthiness is wickedness, because I have cleansed you, but you are not clean. You shall not be cleansed of your filthiness anymore, till I have caused my wrath to rest upon you. Verse 14, I Yahuwah, has spoken. It shall come, and I shall do it. I do not hold back, nor do I pardon, nor do I relent. according to your ways and according to your deeds, they shall judge you, declares the Master Yahuwah. Verse 15, and the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, verse 16, Son of man, see, I am taking away from you the desire of your eyes with one stroke, but do not mourn, nor weep, nor let your tears run down. Verse 17, groan silently, make no mourning for the dead. Bind your turban on your head and put your sandals on your feet. Do not cover your upper lip and do not eat man's bread or sorrow. Verse 18, and I spoke to the people in the morning and in the evening, my wife died. And the next morning I did as I was commanded. So we see that Ezekiel appears to have had a wife. Verse 19, and the people said to me, would you not explain to us what these matters you are doing mean to us? Verse 20, and I said to them, the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, verse 21, speak to the house of Yisrael, thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am profaning my set apart place, the pride of your strength, the desire of your eyes, and the delight of your being, and your son's daughter, whom you left behind, shall fall by the sword. Verse 22, and you shall do as I have done. Do not cover the upper lip, nor eat man's bread of sorrow. Verse 23, and let your turbans remain on your head and your sandals on your feet. Do not mourn nor weep, but you shall pine away in your crookedness and groan with one another. Verse 24, and Yehezekiel shall be a sign to you. Do according to all that he has done. When this comes to you, you shall know that I am the Master Yahuwah. Verse 25, and you, son of man, on the day when I take from them their stronghold, the joy of their adorning, the desire of their eyes, and the lifting up of their being, their sons and their daughters. Verse 26, on that day, one that has escaped shall come to you to let you hear it with your ears. Verse 27, on that day, your mouth shall be open to him who has escaped, and you shall speak and no longer be silent, and you shall be a sign to them, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. Chapter 25, verse 1. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face against the Ammonites and prophesy against them. Verse 3, and you shall say to the Ammonites, hear the word of the Master Yahuwah. Thus said the Master Yahuwah, because you said, Aha, against my set apart place when it was profaned, and against the land of Yisrael when it was ruined, and against the house of Yehuda when they went into exile. Verse 4, therefore, see, I am giving you as possession to the men of the east, and they shall set their encampments among you, and make their dwellings among you, and shall eat your fruit, and they shall drink your milk. Verse 5, and I shall make Rabbah a pasture for camels, and Ammon a resting place for flocks, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. Verse 6, for this is what the Master Yahuwah said, because you clap your hands and you stamp your feet and rejoice with all the scorn of your being against the land of Yisrael. Verse 7, therefore see, I myself shall stretch out my hand against you and give you as plunder to the nation. And I shall cut you off from the peoples and make you perish from the lands. I will destroy you, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. Verse 8. This is what the Master Yahuwah said, because of Moab and Seir say, the house of Yehuda is like all the nations. Verse 9. Therefore, see, I am opening the flank of Moab on the side of the cities, on the side of the cities on its frontiers, the splendor of the land, Beth Yeshemoth, Baal Meon, and Kiriathim. Verse 10, and I shall give it together with the Ammonites as a possession to the men of the east, so that the Ammonites are no more remembered among the nations. Verse 11, also on Moab I execute judgment, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. Verse 12, thus said the Master Yahuwah, because of what Edom has done against the house of Yehuda by taking vengeance, so that they become very guilty, and they have taken vengeance on them. Verse 13, therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, I shall stretch out my hand against Edom, and I shall cut off man and beast from it, and lay it waste from Teman even to Dedan. They shall fall by the sword. Verse 14, and I shall lay my vengeance on Edom by the hand of my people Yisrael, and they shall do in Edom according to my displeasure and according to my wrath, so they shall know my vengeance, declares the Master Yahuwah. Verse 15, thus said the Master Yahuwah, because the Philistines have acted in vengeance and took vengeance with scorn in their being, to destroy with lasting enmity. Verse 16, therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am stretching out my hand against the Philistines, and I shall cut off the Kerethites and destroy the remnant of the sea coast. Verse 17, and execute great vengeance on them with raging reproofs, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah when I lay my vengeance upon them. Chapter 26, verse 1. And it came to be in the 11th year, on the first of the new moon, the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, verse 2, Son of man, because Seir has spoken against Jerusalem, aha, she, the gateway of the peoples, has been broken. She has been turned over to me. Let me be filled. She has been ruined. Verse 3, therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am against you, O Seir, and shall cause my nation to come up against you, as the sea causes its waves to come up. Verse 4, and they shall destroy the walls of Seir, and they shall break down her towers, and I shall scrape her dust from her, and shall make her like a shining rock. Verse 5, she shall be a place for spreading nets in the midst of the sea, for I have spoken, declares the Master Yahuwah, and shall become plunder for the nations, and she shall become plunder for the nations. Verse 6, while her daughter villages which are in the fields are unalived by the sword, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. Verse 7, for thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am bringing against Seir from the north Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, a sovereign of sovereigns, with horses and with chariots and with horsemen, even an assembly and many people. Verse 8, with the sword he shall unalive your daughters in the field, and he shall heap up a siege mound against you, and shall build a wall against you, and shall raise a large shield against you. Verse 9, and set the blow of his battering rams against your walls, and break down your towers with his weapons. Verse 10, from his many horses their dust shall cover you, from the noise of the horsemen and vehicles, chariots, your walls shall shake as he enters your gates, as men enter a city that is breached. Verse 11. With the hooves of his horses, he tramples all your streets. He unalives your people by the sword, and columns of your strength shall fall to the ground. Verse 12. And they shall plunder your riches, and they shall loot your merchandise, and they shall break down your walls and destroy your pleasant houses. And they shall put your stones and your timber and your dust in the midst of the water. Verse 13, and I shall cause the sound of your song to cease, and let the sound of your lyres be heard no more. Verse 14, and I shall make you like a shining rock, and let you be a place for spreading nets, never to be rebuilt. For I, Yahuwah, have spoken, declares the Master Yahuwah. Verse 15, thus said the Master Yahuwah to Sor, would the coastland not shake at the sound of your fall? When the wounded cry, when the killing occurs in your midst? Verse 16, and all the princes of the sea shall come down from their thrones, and they shall lay aside their robes and take off their embroidered garments and put on trembling and sit on the ground, and they shall tremble continuously, and they shall be astonished at you. Verse 17, and they shall take up a lamentation for you and say to you, how have you perished, O one inhabited by seafaring men, the city well praised, who was strong at sea, she and her inhabitants, who put their fear on all her inhabitants. Verse 18, now the coastland tremble on the day of your fall, and the coastland by the sea shall shudder at your going out. Verse 19, for thus said the Master Yahuwah, when I make you a ruined city, like cities no longer inhabited, when I bring the deep upon you, and great waters cover you. Verse 20, then I shall bring you down with those who go down into the pit, to the people of old, and I shall make you dwell in the lowest part of the earth, in the waste of old, with those who go to the pit, so that you do not return, but I shall establish splendor in the land of the living. Verse 21, I make you a horror, and let you be no more, and you are sought for, but never found again, declares the Master Yahuwah. Chapter 27, verse 1. The word of Yahuwah came again to me, saying, verse 2, now, son of man, take up lamentations of Soar. Verse 3, and you shall say to Soar, you who dwell at the entrance to the sea, merchant of the peoples on many coastlands, thus said the Master Yahuwah, O Soar, you yourself have said, I am perfect in loveliness. Verse 4, your borders are in the heart of the seas. Your builders have perfected your loveliness. Verse 5, they have made all your timbers of fair trees from Sinir. They took a cedar from Lebanon to make a mast for you. Verse 6, from the oaks of Bashan they made your oars. They made your deck with ivory from the coast of Kittim. Verse 7, of fine embroidered linen from Mizraim was your sail to serve you as banner. Of blue and purple from the coast of Elisha was your covering. Verse 8, the inhabitants of Zidon and Arwad were your seamen. Your wise men, Osor, were in you. They were your sailors. Verse 9, the elders of Gebal and its wise men were in you repairing your seams. All the ships of the sea and their seamen were in you to trade your merchandise. Verse 10, those from Persia, Lud, and Put were in your army as men of battle. Shield and helmet they hung up within you. They gave splendor to you. Verse 11, the sons of Awad and your army were on your walls all around, and the Gamadites were in your towers. They hung their shields on your walls all around. They perfected your loveliness. Verse 12, Tarshish was your merchant because of your great wealth. They gave you silver, iron, tin, and lead for your merchandise. Verse 13, Yawan, Tabal, and Meshach were your traders. They exchanged slaves and objects of bronze for your merchandise. Verse 14, those from the house of Togarmah exchanged horses and horsemen and mules for your merchandise. Verse 15, the men of Dedan traded with you. Many owls were your market. They brought you ivory, tusk, and ebony as payment. Verse 16, a ram, a merchant, because of the multitude of your works. They give you emeralds, purple, and embroidery, and fine linen, and corals and rubies for your wares. Verse 17, Yehuda and the land of Yisrael were your traders. For your merchandise they exchanged wheat of Minnith and early figs and honey and oil and balm. Verse 18, Damascus was your merchant because of the multitude of your works, because of your great wealth of goods, with the wine of Helbon and with the white wool. Verse 19, Whedon and Yawan from Yazal paid for your wares. They exchanged wrought iron, cassie, and cane for your merchandise. Verse 20, Dedan traded with you sandal cloths for riding. Saddle cloths for riding. Verse 21, Arabia and all princes of Kedar were merchants for you, in lambs and rams and goats they were your merchants. Verse 22, the traders of Sheba and Raamah were your traders. They paid for your wares with the choice spices and all kinds of precious stones and gold. Verse 23, Haran and Kenath and Eden, traders of Sheba and Ashur and Kamad traded with you. Verse 24, they traded with you in perfect items, in purple clothes, in embroidered garments, in chests of multitude colored clothes, and in strong twined cords among your merchants. Multicolored clothes. Verse 25, the ships of Tarshish were the travelers of your merchandise, and you were filled and richly laid in the heart of the seas. Verse 26, your seamen brought you into many waters, but the east wind broke you in the heart of the seas. Verse 27, your wealth and your wares, your merchandise, your mariners and your sellers, your repairers of seams, and your dealers in merchandise, and all your fighting men who are in you, and the entire company which is in your midst shall go down into the heart of the sea on the day of your fall. Verse 28, the coast shaking at the sound of the cry of your sailors. Verse 29, all the oarsmen, the mariners, all the sailors of the sea shall come down from their ships. They shall stand on their shore. Verse 30, and they shall rise, and they shall raise their voice and cry bitterly over you, and cast dust on their heads, rolling themselves in ashes. Verse 31, and they shall shave themselves bald because of you, and shall gird themselves with sackcloth, and they shall weep for you with bitterness of heart and bitter wailing. Verse 32, and in their wailing for you, they shall take up a lamentation, and they shall lament for you, who is cut off in the midst of the sea like Sora. Sora sounds like a modern day familiar place. Verse 33, when your waves went out by sea, you have filled many peoples with your great wealth and your merchandise. You have made the sovereigns of the earth rich. Verse 34, in the time you are broken by the seas in the depths of the waters, your merchandise and all your company shall fall in your midst. Verse 35, all the inhabitants of the isle shall be astonished at you, and their sovereigns shall be greatly afraid. Their faces shall be troubled. Verse 36, the merchants among the people shall whistle at you. You shall become a horror and be no more forever. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 27. I have from chapter 23 to 27. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 23 to 27. And that completes the reading for this week, the Shabbat reading for this week. Hallelujah, hallelujah, praise Yah, may y'all, glory be to Yah. May Yah bless you all. Until next time, peace, love, Shabbat shalom, love, and peace.